Hey guys, Tom here from Metalloud. I'm here with Sean Gonzalez, and we're back with another Chariot review. This time we're looking at 2010's Long Live. Now, this album is actually a lot of brand new stuff going on. They have a brand new label on this album. The guys from Ferret, after Ferret kind of disappeared, turned into this new label, Good Fight. And it also introduces the new guitarist Stephen Harrison to this album. One of their original guitarists returns from the Fiance, John Terry, comes back for this album. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and it creates a different sound, as well as it continues a lot of the experimentation that we got with Wars and the Rumors of Wars as well.
Yep. Long Live, I would say it's the most commercially known Chariot record. I'm not saying that it's the best, but I feel like it was the one that most people heard at some point in their life as they were a metalcore fan. This was the one that was like mainstreamed into a place that people knew about the Chariot, and the first one where I think people listened to the Chariot and said, this is a band.
Yeah, and I speak personally, before I even heard Wars and the Rumors of Wars, which was the first actual album I heard from them, I had seen the album cover for Long Live, and I'd heard people talking about it before I even knew who the Chariot actually were. So I definitely kind of agree with that this would be the album that most people have heard, and probably have, at some point, people have at least heard this album. They also did a cool thing with their fans for this album where they held a contest, I believe it was on their MySpace page, where if you got a copy of Wars and the Rumors of Wars that was signed, if you got signed by all of them, if you got one, or if you got more than one that was signed by each of the members, they would actually, you get your name on the track list for Long Live.
Yep.
And that's actually why these names are a little bit weird. We get actual people's names for some of these songs, like Calvin McKenzie or Robert Rios. So they're not like, it's not some big inside joke or anything like that. They're actual people who won a contest and had the tracks named after them.
And I think going off of that, I would say that Long Live is the time of the Chariot's lifespan where their mental idea of the band was just be free, and they really started beating that into their live shows, where they would just have people come up on stage more, and like he was just like, this is your mic, this isn't mine. And I feel like the inclusion of people's names and then counteracting that with just like places, like weird, like the city, the audience, just things of that. I feel like that was the time where the Chariot really became an idea and kind of transcended being a band, where they were out there to do something. And I think the lyrics are totally into that. Like, the entire ending of The City is probably the best 2-minute monologue I've ever heard from any vocalist ever. And it's just a beat down. It's probably my favorite song by them. So I feel like this captured not just music, this captured the entirety of the Chariot.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And they actually recorded some parts or a song on this live with like one take, as they did, I believe, their first album, which was recorded completely live.
Yep.
Because they wanted to kind of capture that feeling of what the Chariot is. And if you see them at a show, if you've ever seen the Chariot live, it really involves the audience a lot. It's more than just traditionally like moshing or crowd surfing or anything like that. Sean pointed out, Josh Gogan always tells people, this is my mic, this is your mic. So I think Stevie Harrison will also do that as well. He comes out into the crowd. Yep. They're a very crowd-oriented band. They really kind of incorporate their audience into their live shows. And I think Long Live is a really good example of capturing that feeling that they have, and I think a lot of these are some of these are their best songs that they've done. Lyrically, I think this is where they get a lot more abstract with their lyrics. They feel like, a lot of them feel like there's no context for the lyrics. They're powerful, they're meaningful lyrics, but they stand alone. They really don't. To me, they don't have as much context in the actual song itself, which. It's weird in its own way, but it really works as well, and I think I kind of enjoy that. It starts really with the audience is kind of where you notice that it really kind of, you get that. And I think also this album kind of toned down the heaviness from Wars and the Rumors of Wars.
And it toned down the heaviness, but it brought a different style of heaviness, because Evan Perks, I think, will always remain as probably the best opening song for a live show ever. And I think the lyrics there are just very just like, be free, stand up for yourself, and like revolt within yourself. Like, don't be like, there. And the chorus of Chariot is a Christian band, so you can take it two different views, but a lot of these lyrics, like the heavens, like dancing is a revolution, and like grab your kids, like just like it's a very different idea behind everything they were doing. So at the same time, while they lightened up the guitar tones and brought up like the vocals, so they weren't just like pure growls or anything anymore, it was very well done in that nature, and took everything together, took everything off. It was just like, this is what we want to do.
Yeah, no, and the Heavens is also, I think, one of the weirdest songs that they've done in terms of like the actual music, because it starts off with like this weird drum beat. Is that even not even? And there's this buzzing sound. Josh Skogan comes in with this almost like spoken word feeling to it, and then it just reverses all the sounds that it has, and it's kind of like chopped up a little bit, but it works. You get this nice like rhythm to it, but it's just it's a weird song to hear, but it's just done so well, and I think that's basically an example of this whole album. Like I said, this is really where they start to. Wars and the Rumors of Wars is where they kind of started to kind of play with some experimentation. Yeah. This is where I think they really kind of expand that tremendously. And a lot of these songs have just like really weird parts that seem kind of out of place, but somehow they make them work.
Right.
The city, for instance, has like this weird ambient part at the end of it.
Right. With the choirs.
Yeah. And then Calvin McKenzie has the weird country song that comes in at the end of it, the Atlanta.
The Atlanta song.
Yeah, and then it cuts out, and then it like they're just so random parts, and you think it almost feels like a mistake, but then it fits with the songs.
And so, as I kind of pointed out on Wars and Rumors of Wars, where they would put out these like big. They would draw things out and try to create that melodramatic tone. Yeah. I think here's where they put that, because again, like you have The City, which I can go on about that song, but when the choir comes in, first time I heard that song after seeing it live, I was like, there's a reflective penance here that I don't think has been captured by another band with this heavy style. So they kind of perfected that from a song like Impress on Wars. And then there is the probably most well-known David De La Haas, which features Listener on it. And who would have thought you could elegantly put a poet inside of a hardcore song with like kind of like a frantic beat and have him say anything?
It fits so well into that song. Like, it's such a nice, smooth like transition to that and transition out of it. And that's actually I think that's the first video they did for this. And it just works so well. And the video they actually shot completely live.
Right.
So the video's music is actually slightly different compared to the actual track on the album, and it works so well, I think. And then the Listener's actually in that video.
Yep.
So they didn't just like record it and then play it during the video. He's actually in the video, and it works so well. And that's actually something that kind of drew me to him and his music as well.
Right.
I kind of started listening to his stuff too, and he's really got an interesting style. But it fits with the Chariot. I think it really, really
100%
fits, and it's just so weird to see that in like a hardcore or metalcore song.
Right. And then, per usual, the Chariot have their say of making a big ending, and the King, I think, is the one that is an actual Chariot song. It's not like there's not anything else really going on. I mean, there's some cool trumpets and horns that come in, but it still felt like a song, whereas most other Chariot endings are kind of like a weird mashup of just ideas. I think this one was an actual song, and they just like like, this is how we do it.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it still has that edge to it because it does. I think it's like 5 minutes or long, so it kind of does stretch things out. And this also kind of that I think this is an album where they really started to make repetitive sounds and dragging things out actually work for them.
Yep.
Where it never becomes like other bands that repeat the same tone or repeat the same chords over and over again. It sounds repetitive, sounds annoying, you get tired of it.
Right.
But here it really never does. They do something with it, and it's so weird to talk about because normally that would be something I would criticize and say, you know, the song became tiresome after a few listens, but like it really, really works with this whole album, I think.
Yeah, they found a way to blend every small piece together, and I don't know where it all came from or who like forefronted this idea, but everything works. Even just like small parts like Still Dazzle Me, like that don't go in the audience, that like just comes like in between this small fraction of a musical break is just a powerful part. So they found a way to make everything stand out, and that's why I feel like so many other people, when they heard this, they were like, this is a serious thing. This is an actual, tangible experience.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably why a lot of people gravitate towards this album in particular, because I think it really has something for everyone.
Right.
And I think it really appeals to a broader audience than their other stuff really does. Yep. And I think it's also, I think that whole connection that they have and what they took trying to translate their live shows and how much they incorporate the audience in their live shows to this album, I think also is another reason why people are drawn to this, because they really feel a personal connection to it. And I think it really, overall, this is, it's hard for me to say because I think really this is their best album that they've done as a whole. As a whole album, I think that Long Live really is their best overall that they've done. The best effort, best everything.
Best at capturing their identity, I'd say. Everything about them. This, except for John Terry, just because he left as soon as this was recorded, basically, and then Brandon Henderson came in. Yeah. That is the Chariot lineup I will always remember. Stevie, Brandon, Josh, Wolf, and David. So I think that this transcending to the live show with those 5 members is just the entire creative identity of the Chariot. Yeah,
and I definitely would agree with that. Because the bassist Wolf left right after this album. Continued on just as a 4-piece.
Right, right before One Wing. Right after the touring of the cycle of this album, he went on to school.
He went back to school, yeah. But this, I think you're right. With this, really kind of captures the Chariot and their essence. Where I think Wars and the Rumors of Wars is a little bit is a good place to start, because it's kind of where I think they become the Chariot. I think this is really where they cement that.
Yeah.
So I think this is definitely the Chariot if I had to pick an album.
Yeah, and it always works because when you say the album Long Live the Chariot, it's just that is just them and everything they believed, everything they wanted to do with music. Long Live the Chariot. That's this record.
Exactly.